Welcome to the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club on this Monday, October 28th. On behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Board of Directors of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, I call to order the 8th meeting of the 62nd year of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, will be given by board member and club treasurer and deacon at Martindale Christian Fellowship in Canton, Tim Richard.
You heard of a bullpen game. Our minister didn't show up today. So that's why I'm not in my sport jacket and tie. So, first of all, on a sad note, club member Dale Martin passed away. Dale Martin passed away. Okay, let us pray. Precious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the chance to meet together, dear Lord, and to come together and talk sports, dear Lord, that you gave us. We thank you for the meal that we've already eaten, dear Lord, and we bless the hands that prepared it. Bless every member here and give them safety as they return home. We just thank you for all your blessings. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joining me at the head table today is Rich DeRosas, Chief Communications and Contact Officer for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Chuck Kyle, retired head football coach at St. Ignatius, winner of 11 Division I state titles, and in 2016, Chuck was inducted into the National High School Football Hall of Fame. Down below, TJ Downing, a trustee, and also SMG Networks. I'd like to recognize and thank our club sponsors, Aultcare's Primetime Health Plan, Dr. Peter Ferguson, Liberty Ford, Marion Motley Memorial Scholarship Fund, the Bistro of Green, and Wilkshire Golf Club. Congratulations to Stephen Vogt, voted by the Sporting News as the American League Manager of the Year. Congratulations to the Buckeyes for their win over Nebraska. And congratulations to the Browns for their close win over the Rangers. Hall of Famer Kellen Winslow will be here in Canton this week as part of the Hall of Fame residency program. Tickets for the November 25th meeting here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame will go on sale next Monday, November 4th, and again on November 11th. Remember, you need to prepay your meal, and everyone must have a ticket to enter. And usually my quote of the day is from Tommy Lasorda, and I quote, "You can wake up every day and make today better than last." Also, on a sad note, our condolences go out to the family of Jim Donovan, who passed away this weekend. He was a legend, and he will be missed. All right, let's do the 50-50. Today's winning jackpot is $193.
Let's pick the winner. All right, so pick the winner. All right.
Okay. The winning ticket number is 777-232. 777-232. $193. Next week, our speaker will be Gerald Cottigan, athletic director at Shawnee State. He played offensive tackle in the NFL and the Canadian Football League, and he played his college football at Penn State. To introduce this week's speaker, I'd like to introduce Rich DeRosa to come up.
Full of people who aren't happy they won the 50-50. So I'm just going to make eye contact. I'm going to make eye contact right there all afternoon. So I know at least one person's going to be smiling. I want to tell you a story. It's about an English teacher. It's late fall 2011. The St. Ignatius football team is huddled on the field for one of the last practices of the season. One of the high school's English teachers comes out, steps into the center of the group. Players kneel in silence around him, and their eyes are fixed on him. They know him well. They've sat in his classroom. "You are writing a wonderful story," he says. "So far, you've written 14 chapters, one for each week's games. People have loved to read it. I know you've loved to write it. But how will that last chapter be written? That's up to you." For half a century, this English teacher stayed at the school, foregoing all the opportunities to take his life story to one of the many colleges that made some kind of compelling offer. His commitment and loyalty to St. Ignatius produced wondrous results. His English students won 11 state tournament titles, competing against the state's biggest schools. 4 times those English students were named national champions. Countless 3- and 4- and 5-star writers got college scholarships to take English class at some college or university. One rating service said he was the 6th best in his craft in the country of all time. Wouldn't it be great if we introduced English teachers like this all the time? Well, today we can. Because today we have with us an English teacher who happened to coach a little football. Not a football coach who happened to teach a little bit of English. Every person I've ever met with an association of St. Ignatius High School eventually says the same thing. "Mr. Kyle? Oh yeah, I had him for English. He was great." All of us hope Chuck Kyle still has several chapters to write in his own life story. In one of those chapters, he's now helping the Pro Football Hall of Fame develop its character exhibit and its character messaging that we hope to share with kids all across the country. And I think he plans to say a few words about that. And we are thrilled that he has graciously agreed to be here today to share a few stories from the many chapters he has written and to give an outline on some of the chapters still to come. So, Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Mr. Chuck Kyle, English teacher.
Thank you, Rich. I'm not going to lecture on Shakespeare, I promise. That would be right. We did that years ago. All right. What an honor to be here. I think I did one of these. I may be wrong, but I think I did one of these a long time ago. That we yes, it was at a restaurant, and I coached the United States in the world under 19 World Championship thing. And the game was right out here. That's the best. That crowd was fantastic. So July 7th or 8th, 9th, right around there. Packed house, right? They tried to go some other place the next few years. Not even close to what it was here. The interesting thing about that, it was just a great honor. Something like, I want to say 8 of those young men who were on the United States team went on to play pro football. Right? Yeah. And the selection, it's not really what I was going to talk about, but the selection of that, well, certainly they were good ball players, and they were going to play in college, And the college coaches said, yeah, go ahead, you can play in that, because typically a freshman's not going to start, for Ohio State or, Virginia Tech and so whatever. So they wanted him to do it, right? But the nice thing about it, they got a chance to really get friendships. And like I said, 8 or 9 went on to play pro football. And those guys, one of them still played, actually. And they would get together. They would get together after that experience, because this was fabulous, right? Fabulous. But anyway, so nice to be with you. I'm an educator, okay? I was a young guy coming out of John Carroll University and going back to my high school. That's where I went to school and played and all that stuff. And honestly, I just wanted to be an English teacher who coached a little bit. Right? I had no visions of grandeur or anything like that, right? But things happen, right? And as years go by, you say yes to the responsibility of being a head coach, and you just get people together and get them to believe and so on. And I got to go back to my dad, if you don't mind, a little story. I got to tell you, I'm not sure this really happened. He claims it happened, okay? Because my dad really wasn't, I don't picture him as a humorous guy. He was kind of serious, working steel mills, right, all that sort of thing. But he, always pulls me aside. Now, son, it's always important to try to work to improve, look to get things better. And then sit down, I'll tell you a story about our family. Well, this is supposedly what happened. He's talking about his great-grandfather, okay? Now, they lived and he was born in Birmingham, Alabama, okay? And he claimed he was about, say, 8, 9 years old. And his great-grandfather and great-grandmother lived on the way on the outskirts of Birmingham, like a farm area, something like that. They never wanted to go downtown to Birmingham. Finally, supposedly my grandfather and grandma convinced them to come and to visit actual downtown Birmingham. So sure enough, they come in, they go downtown, and they go to this department store. It's like 4 or 5 floors up, right? It's nice. Well, they're looking, they've never seen a building like that. Wow, so they go in and they're looking around. And of course, great-grandma, she's looking at all the things she could buy. And my great-grandfather's supposedly looking around, right? And he always called my dad Sonny Boy, oh, Sonny Boy, go see what your grandma's doing. Well, what happens? So he's supposedly standing there. This is how the story goes. And he looks around, and there's this elderly lady walks into the store, walks down the middle aisle, and over to the elevator. Now, back then, an elevator is not what it is today, right? They had an elevator operator, got him just to stay there, with a big metal thing they'd open up, people go in. So this elderly lady walks to the elevator. Guy opens it up, she walks in, closes it over, right? Well, great-grandpa doesn't know what's that, okay. What happens? About 4 minutes later, he looks over at the elevator, and sure enough, that elevator operator, he opens the door, and out, the door's open, and out walks this just drop-dead gorgeous young lady. Well, according to my dad, right? The great-grandpa's just sitting up. The young lady, sure enough, walks right down that aisle, the main aisle, walks out of the store. So supposedly my great-grandfather goes, Sonny Boy, get on over here. Sonny Boy, go get your grandmother. She's got to go in that little room. Gee, thanks, Dad. That's a really good story, and somehow that's going to improve my life. I don't know. He did laugh, but, well, whether it's true or not, it's a good story, okay? I guess you're trying to improve. Listen, what I'd like to do is certainly, there's three major areas I'd like to talk about. I'm not going to reminisce about games or something like that per se. Some things that are happening now involved in football, I would like to do that. First of all, with Rich, we are involved here at the Hall of Fame. Okay, I'm on the National High School Council that is started by the Hall of Fame. And we've been working about a year now. We hook up, the modern world of communication. We hook up every 2 weeks. And we're setting up a number of programs that are involved. One of them is that will be happening at the field in another year. Okay, it will be the National High School Football Classic, and there'll be 3 games. And what's the common denominator there of those teams? That in their history of those high schools, they had a player that made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, so that's sort of interesting thing. We're working on a lot of ideas. Maybe it'll be televised. Who knows? Those are all sort of things that are happening. But that'll be right out here at this great stadium. Okay, that's one thing we're working on. One thing I'm really, really excited about is the idea of the character development aspect of this council. Folks, I'm being a teacher. To me, come on. Sure, I try tackling and blocking, and you got to win football games, and winning is a good education. Losing is a good education, but you like the winning better, okay? But you got to handle it and know how to get there. We'll go into that. But the point of the matter is, to me, that football field out there is a tremendous classroom. Any of you that played football know it is. You know it's a great classroom. English teachers can have you read short stories and novels and so on about people in courageous moments and great things. But when you're on that football field, you learn some things. You learn, right? And the idea of there's 11 guys in the huddle, right? And it's the fourth quarter, right? You're tired and it's getting crazy. And you know what? You look to your left and you look to your right and you go, I can't let these guys down. I will not let these guys down. Kid learns that. Kid learns that playing this game. And the character element, I think we have a really fertile opportunity here. We have pro football players that have made it to the Hall of Fame. How did they get there? There's a lot of people that are talented. Just as they would tell you, this guy's as talented as they were, but they got there. And how was that? Well, somewhere along the line, they learned some things, didn't they? They learned some things. They learned, self-discipline, right? Interesting thing about the game of football, isn't it? With the discipline. It's a great way of learning discipline. Because here you are, you line up, right? And the guy jumps off sides. Did you ever notice in the game of football, he's not the only one that moves back 5 yards. Because you screwed up, young man, the whole team moves back 5 yards. A little bit of responsibility there, huh? It's just not about you. It's those guys next to you. We've got to keep moving. So all these beautiful things that you can talk about. The idea of a work ethic. Can you imagine? You walk in that Hall of Fame, you walk over and see the busts of these great players, right? And you kind of understand what kind of work ethic that they must have had to get to that level. They set their goals and they worked at it. It just didn't happen for them, right? They have great stories. It's great we can put them in the Hall of Fame, but why? Let's get them to say things, right? Interview them and talk to them and just want something in their life to, maybe it was a coach. Maybe it was a coach they had, all right? Because I can look you in the eye and tell you, honestly, I've had at least, we got a number of guys go on and play pro football. We really have. There's some still play. And I can tell you this, there's 3 that comes to mind, right, like that. And I won't give you their names because I don't embarrass them, but 3 of them, that their youth coach looks back and says, Coach, when he played youth football, he didn't even want to hit anybody. He didn't even want to, I don't know why he was even out there. But something, right? The light bulb went on somewhere, right? You can't give up on a kid, right? Because at first, and then they kind of get that that moment, that inspiration, they kind of come into it, and they don't look back. They continue on. That happens so much, and it's that character builder that can tell other kids, the kids coming up, right? The idea. So we're kind of excited about that. We're kind of excited about the idea of what those people can tell. And I know, because Anthony Munoz is on the committee, Anthony and a couple other guys, some guys that were coaches in college and pros are on it and something like that. I know they have the stories that just simply would help these guys understand that you have opportunity, right? But you know, opportunities, right? Everybody has opportunities. Who takes it, right? There's a famous poem, a guy by the name of Ingalls. Here I am, an English teacher. I thought you'd escape English, didn't you? I got you here. There was a poem that he wrote about, and the title of the poem was Opportunity. And I thought it was a brilliant idea on this poem. His major point about opportunity is simply this. When opportunity comes, metaphorically, opportunity does this. Opportunity knocks, but it only knocks this. It knocks once. It doesn't sit there going, come on, take it. It knocks. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You got to make a decision. You got to go. And that's so true, right? When you think back in your life, there's an opportunity. What are you going to do? There's a lot of people who say, I shoulda, I coulda, oh, I woulda. You didn't, did you? You know, that's what happens. So there's these stories that hopefully we can have. And I just talking to Anthony Munoz and others, they look for this as just a great opportunity for them, a purpose for them. How about that? Some of you that played years ago, a lot of these young kids don't even know their names. Right? They don't even know their names. They don't know what they did. They'd have to read carefully to find out what did that guy do. Kids don't read that quickly anymore, I'm telling you, right? They have to read to find out. But now they get a purpose, go, you know, this really made a difference in my life. You know, kid, be ready for that opportunity, and so on. So that's kind of an exciting thing. Let me just quickly, I'm going to move to my next point. There's a lot of things where I'm involved with originally USA football, okay? And again, it's the purpose of that what I've been doing, I have been doing, is, you know, there's a lot of volunteer coaches out there. Many of you probably volunteer coach, right? Youth, little kids, you know, have fun. And the point of the matter is, the game of football has changed. It really has. The idea of just understanding that, you know, tackling and blocking, as soon as the concussion issue came up, and has been studied more, and it should have been studied more, obviously. Come on, you guys remember, right, when you played? I remember, remember you got hit and you got your bell rung? Everybody remember that? Remember getting your bell rung? Right? And you kind of go, whoa, you know, you're on the sidelines, you okay? Whoa, I got lit up that time, man, okay. And the manager or the coach would go into the med kit and pull out what? A little ammonia capsule? Smelling salts. Okay, ammonia. And, whoa, you get one of those? Oh, I'm good now, yeah, let me go back in. Right? Remember that? I know I got it. Hey, you know what? That's not, you can't do that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. That kid that gets up and goes, whoa, I got clocked. Sit down. Sit down, son. You're out. Doctor's going to have to check you. And the official should not be letting anybody back in the game until the doctor gives the okay. How about that's where we're at? And okay, we didn't know back then. You know, we watched westerns, right? I mean, now I'm looking a long time ago. The Lone Ranger on television, right? The Lone Ranger. You know, a weekly episode, right? Well, sure enough, they'd be riding Lone Ranger get hit over the head. Then he'd go, right? They knocked him out. He'd wake up in a minute, jump back on his horse, right after the bad guy, and get him. Excuse me, Mr. Lone Ranger, sir. You cannot get back up on your horse. You have a concussion. So, stop it, you know? That's where we're at now. So it is a different thing. So the nice thing I've been involved is actually, I'm done coaching, so having these meetings with the volunteer coaches, kind of go, all right, let's talk about the drills we should be using now. We can teach good tackling without proving manhood to 5-year-olds. Come on, let's learn how to do it correctly. And so on. So I'm doing a lot of things with youth football, and I'm going to throw one thing at you, and that has been, I helped develop this with USA Football, and it has become quite popular in Northern Ohio especially, and it's called rookie tackle. I don't know if you have any grandsons that may be playing that, but just I can't get into a whole long explanation of it. But what we came up with was, with the concussion thing, the numbers were going down of kids playing because parents were going, I don't know about this, I don't know. So what we come up with? Okay, so let's take the game and reevaluate for little kids. Okay, the football field that's out there, was that created for little kids or was it created for adults? Created for adults, right? 100-yard field, that width, and so on like that. Okay, so to be very honest with you, when those little kids played, and I was one, I remember this. I wasn't the biggest guy, but I had speed. So what would happen? We were a good team because if we were on the left hash, the coach pitched out the ball to me, and I ran all the way to the other sideline and ran down the field, and I just outran everybody. And that was youth football. We won the championship because that's all we had to do. Well, come on, let's bring it in a little bit because bring in the sidelines. So we're looking at this game. Let's bring the sideline in. Little kids go to 100 yards. I don't know. Are little kids going to drive 100 yards? No, they're going to break away from 100 yards. There's nobody. They're going to drive. And I'm sure this thing had to be adjusted a little bit to little kids. All right, now all you guys out there, ladies, hang in there. I'm not doing this. I'm just showing something here. Okay. Now, guys, ready? When you were a kid, and your friend had a nice backyard, right? He had a nice backyard. All right? You guys remember what you did? You went over to his house, didn't you? And you played football. Was it touch? No, it wasn't. You played tackle football in that backyard, didn't you? Did you wear any equipment? No, you didn't. You didn't do that. Don't lie. I'm an English teacher, not a priest or anything, so don't lie. Okay? We all did it, didn't we? It was a backyard. It wasn't a 100-yard field, and so you get the ball, and even the big guys in the room, you could carry the ball there too, because we little guys could jump on you and bring it out somehow. We'd wrestle, pull your legs out, right? We would. Did anybody get hurt? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? You got a scar? He's the first guy to ever say it. Okay, there were a few bloody noses and a couple little nicks, all right? The eyeglasses. The other guy, it was the other guy, did he had eyeglasses. Okay. But my point being made, there's not as much momentum, things like that. And so you start thinking about things like that. Okay, so I'm not going to go to all the rules we came up with, but picture a football field there. All right, ready? Where the hash marks are, bring the sideline into the hash marks. Or top of the numbers. Let's put top of the numbers. How's that? Okay, so you put the ball always in the middle of the field. Put it always in the middle of the field. So you go either way. Kid gets the ball, he's running over. Even the big kid, he gets the ball, but you're not giving him 20-yard momentum to smack into the little guys. All right, so in this several, you can play 2 games. The ball starts on the 40-yard line. Okay? Now you can have one team going that way, one game, and then a game going that way. Okay? No punts, no punt returns. Why is that? How many here ever returned a punt? You return punts? I return punts. You remember what happened? So you're standing back there, boom. You're like this, all right? And hopefully it's a good punt. You know that? Hopefully it was a good punt. The worst things in the world were the bad punts, because they bounce all over the place. Okay, boom. Now, little kids, there's the punt. Punt's lousy punts, and little kids can't punt, so it's all terrible, right? It's bouncing, right? And little kids, ready? They don't block on punt return. So here's the other team sprinting down the field, and they're like this. You're trying to pick up the ball, and you look up, and there's 5 or 6 guys running sprinting at you, right? So it's like, why do we even bother doing this, right? Hey, it's 1st and 10. You get 4 downs, you get 10 yards. If you don't get it, the other team gets the ball. And let's not create that weird scenario of trying to field a punt. Okay, I'm just showing you what things can do in kind of a controlled environment that we're working with. Kids are, they don't get it. We haven't had injury problems at all doing this thing. And the kids are having a riot, because even if you're a couple touchdowns down, you only got to drive 40 yards. That's it. You can score pretty quickly. So kids are having a riot. We got it going on Northern Ohio. We got it going in Columbus, around this area. There's various leagues that are doing it, and the kids are having a riot doing it. And it's a nice teaching tool too, right? That's the thing. Okay. But you guys remember, you go back, when I have to admit, when I first started coaching, the first day of hitting in high school, okay? You remember what drills those were? Okay, it was, a lot of this going on. We're going to prove who the men folk are, something like that, right? Well, I was the youngest of 4 boys, so by the time I came to play football, I was thrown into the wall about 100 times, hundreds of times, because I had older brothers, right? So I'm in the front of the line, go, hey, this is going to be fun. The poor guy who had, 2 older sisters, and, he was playing Barbie for a while with his sisters, right? Hey, come on out for football, man. Oh, yeah, I'm coming out. Oh, my God, what are we doing? Poor kid. But that kid, if you give him a chance, don't throw big hitting drills right away, you may, become a football player. So that's what this is. That I've been doing a lot of work with that, and trying to create a game where it's just a great progression for a kid to learn to play. How's that? That's instead of throw them right into the deep end of the pool and let them swim. No, it's progression. And the kids are having fun doing it. So, and again, it's becoming very, very popular. Okay. Okay, quickly. We're going to have a question and answer, but I just want to share some things about me, okay, and what I do. I just always believed, and maybe because I was a teacher, that the football field out there is a tremendous classroom. You learn so much out there. You really do. Again, you can hand out short stories about football things and so on. But when a kid has to be in that huddle with those other guys, right? And it's crunch time and you got to get it done and, you got to step up and so on. The kid learns so much. The idea of cooperation, reliability. How about that? In this world today, wouldn't you like to tell a young kid, be reliable? If you're reliable, you will do well. How often I can tell seniors that, they're not going to remember Shakespeare's sonnet or something that I taught them, did or something like that. They're not going to remember that. But I hope they remember the work ethic that they had to do for my class. I hope they remember that. That work would be helping you in some way. I hope they remember the game of football. Yeah, there's the weight room, okay? And it's not there to torture you. It's there to make you better. And you hope kids realize that's a work ethic. And for you that have grandchildren, children out there, I turned to the seniors basically the last day I got dressed as seniors before I retired. And I looked at them and simply said this to them. Fellas, whatever you want to do in life, if you really, really want to do it, go for it. Don't be talked out of it. Go for it. But I hope what I did and the other teachers here taught you this, that you have a work ethic. In this world nowadays, if you have a work ethic, you'll be fine. It may take some time. You have to be patient. But if you have a work ethic, you'll be fine in this world. And that's what I hope that they learned, because I always said that, the games we're going to take care of, so here's winning and losing. they're going to happen. We're going to win more than our share if we do it right. Okay? You know that this football, oh man, hold it. I'm going to grab the football for a second. Throw me a pass. All right, here we go. Hand off. Here we go. I'm glad they had football there. I had started. See this thing? All right. Now think of the other sports we have. Basketball, great sport. Baseball, World Series, nice ball, round. Basketball, round so far. Good. Soccer, great sport. Tennis. Okay. You guys get my picture? See this darn thing? Blame it on the quarterbacks. That was wonderful. Right? Why is it shaped this way? So you can throw the ball better, aerodynamically. You guys, honestly. Okay? But you see this thing? What's the difference? Well, you know what physics would say. You take a round ball and you throw it at a certain angle, you will know basically where it's going to bounce. Ever got that? Not this one. Nah. Folks, I coached 50 years. 50 years. And if I throw it, I'm not going to throw it because it's got signatures on the ground. If I throw this ball up in the air, I have no clue where it's going. 50 years, and I have no clue when this ball's going to bounce. No clue. But what do you learn when you play it? If it bounces towards the opponent, handle it. Find a way to handle it. Bounces towards you. Isn't it not that opportunity again we talked about? Handle it, right? You watched the Browns game yesterday? You can watch any football game. It's good. Right? Tremendous defensive back for the Ravens. You know, with only, what, a couple minutes to go, had an easy, you know, there's the ball. He intercepts that. It's over. They win, right? You guys remember that? That kid's a great defensive back. He's a great one. He's all pro. Couldn't pull it in. Browns, you know, going to win. This crazy thing, huh? Because, you know, you got to handle it. You got to handle it. And I just, hopefully I would always say this to them when we began. And I'm going to wrap it up right here. Ready? The X's and O's and everything, it's beautiful. It's, you know, it's a chess match. Football coaching is a chess match, okay? But it comes down to this. I hope that and I told you this, the experience you would have in football at St. Ignatius High School would be this. I want to teach you, fellas, simply this. You're going to learn how to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually for every challenge you get. I'm going to take the game of football, and we're going to do that. We're going to prepare mentally. It is an extremely complex game. It's not just big guys smacking it. It's very complex. All right? There's 22 players out there, all of the assignment, things happen, here we go. It's very complex, right? Mentally, you can't make no mistakes, right? Physically, it's a demanding sport, okay? And spiritually, yes, St. Ignatius High School, yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid there. I love it. That's part of me. And we pray today, right? Because human beings, how can you have hope? How can you have any hope if you don't have faith? I don't know how you can. I'm being honest. To have hope, you got to believe that you can do that. The Browns walked into that game yesterday. It'd have been easy to say, this season's done. We're done. No hope. Got to play, right? Still have faith that you can do it. Things can happen. So I just want to tell fellas, we're going to learn how to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually for every challenge you have the rest of your life. I hope you learn that from me. One of the greatest things, and we've learned things that I'm very proud of. One of the most beautiful thing I get is guys 40 years old, 50, I'm pretty old, they come back to Coach, thanks for teaching us that. Thanks for doing that, Coach. Because I remember that. And I lived my life that way. That was my job, to be honest. That's my job. Okay? All right. I don't want to get in trouble.
No,
So wait, give me okay.
questions?
But look, it's fun to be here. I think I was here that one time before. This is a great, you guys love the game. You love Ohio. You love Ohio football. You should. It's really great. It's now playoffs for the high schools this year. It's fun time. Boy, there's some amazing games. Ken McKinley and St. Ignatius High School. We had some. Tom McDaniels is a dear, dear friend of mine. We get together all sorts of clinics and so on. There was always that week, where we had to play each other. We had a lot of fun doing it. And that's what camaraderie of coaching is. It's good people getting together, having those kids believe in it. So, but anyway, it's the fun part of it. Do I miss that part? I do. Right? On a game night, I still find myself, I'm not there, and I still look at the clock and, all right, they're getting off the bus now. They're starting to warm up now. I still find myself doing that. I can't get away from that part, but it's fun. But at this point, I certainly want to help the game of football, help the kids get into it, because it's a game that is very, very special. Maybe just because of the ball, but it's very, very special. Okay?
Questions?
Any kind of questions or anything? If I can remember games we played a long time ago, I'll throw it at you. Anything? Oh, yes, sir.
Hey, speaking of the playoffs, what do you think of this going to basically everybody makes the playoff game? And you're going to have some 1 versus 16 matchups, and somebody's going to get hurt, is my opinion. What do you think of the whole expansion of the high school playoffs?
That question should be asked, and I'm not trying to avoid anything. There's issues, both pro and con. There's no doubt about it. I do have to point out one thing. In Division I, region up by Cleveland, the number 1 team this year is Menor. The number 16 team is St. Ignatius High School. I'm not the coach, okay? But I'll be honestly, and because you got to win games. I don't want to get into what schedules have become, right? Being independent is crazy. But anyway, I know the Menor coach. He was going, no, because we play him during the regular year, things like that. But anyway, you bring up a good point. I think behind the idea was, here are these teams, other teams playing, these other kids don't get a chance to play, okay? Now, I look at you and say, if I'm the number 1 team in that region, and I'm playing number 16, you should be going into the game realizing, okay, there's a point in this game where we can let the other kids play. There's other kids on the team that maybe haven't had a chance to play a whole lot. They're the ones coming up. You're going to need them next year. This one, if we do it right, and there was 2 years ago, we were like, I don't know, 3rd in the region or something like that, I don't know. And we were playing at a city school from Cleveland, right? John Marshall. Okay. And I knew those guys. We won 34-14. It was 20-something to nothing at the end of the first quarter. All right, fellas, come on. Other guys, let's go. Let's get in. Everybody play. Everybody's going. And that's, I think, solving the issue a little bit will be coaches. Let's realize that's a mismatch, okay? But the game should end up 70-something to nothing. And some of those games have ended up that way. That's not right. That's not right, okay? So I don't know, I'm kind of playing in between. But those games could, if they're going to do it that way, there's a responsibility, I think, from the coach of the team that's clearly the better team to kind of handle that better, okay? So I don't know if you look in the newspaper next Saturday and see how the Menor Ignatius game goes. I don't know, see what happens. But it's an attempt, the attempt again is to have the kids get a chance to play another game. And so we'll see. We'll see how that happens. Questions? We good? Oh.
I took a picture of you and I sent it to a couple of my offensive line guys, John Conroy, John McLaughlin, and Mike Bogart. They all wanted me to tell you they said thank you as well.
Oh.
My question is, you talked about how you guys would schedule, obviously independent. When I was in high school, the one guy I always wanted to get a shot at was Pat Massey. I had to wait until Ann Arbor to get that shot. Successful, by the way. But the target that you guys would have on your back year in and year out, 11 state titles, all that. How do you coach your guys to be prepared for that? I mean, everybody is going to make their everything if they could beat St. Ignatius. How do you prepare for that?
Right, the question here is about when you are successful, there's a target on your back. Let's say you win a state championship the year before, the opponents on your schedule are there's 365 days that they're going to start preparing for that game, right? So there's a target. There's a target on your back. So in a way, how do you handle that? I always preached that all you had, so here's a philosophical statement, but let me read it. And it's simply this. The philosophical statement is this. What is, what was isn't, and what will be, you don't know. And some philosopher, I forget, I majored in English, so I don't know about that. I had to take some philosophy. What is, what was isn't anymore, and what will be, you don't know. So, the responsibility on your back, and yes, you're talking, but in the end, it comes down to one. This is what you have in front of you. This is the game. What's going to happen 14 games from now if you get that far? You don't know. The only thing you have in your hands is what is now, what is here. If you start worrying about that, the target, and what we're expected to win the championship, you end up getting in the way of what's happening right now. And what happened last year? Hey, let's say you won a state championship last year. It's gone. They take a trophy, and I appreciate doing it, but what happens with that trophy? They put it in a trophy case, and they lock it up, and it's behind glass, and that's it, right? Okay, and it's wonderful you did that, but from now on, you got to live with that and live up to the expectation. I mean, you're talking about expectations. Come on. Everybody has expectations. If you do in your life, in your career, if you do well, there's going to be expectations placed on you. And you know what? It goes back to a lesson. You got to handle losing, but you got to handle winning too. You got to handle winning. It's not easy handling winning. Winning is, and I always define winning as simply, it's an earned blessing. It's earned, and you're blessed if it happens, okay? Because for the Ravens, that kid intercepts the ball yesterday. Okay, didn't happen. That young man probably feels terrible today. It's over now. What is, let's go. Next opponent, let's go, right? And so the best way, I would not talk about 3 weeks from now or a rivalry. I go, this is who we are playing. We're playing now, and we got to focus in on that. And that's all the kids can handle, you know? So to answer that question, that's how I would constantly talk. I would not bring up anything that's going to happen weeks and weeks from now. It's just right now, here we are. Yes, sir.
Do you have any Jim Donovan stories?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I do. Jim, 2 weeks ago, Jim was named to the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame in New York. And he got a hold of me and asked me if I would accept the award for him. Yeah, I've never given a speech like that before, you know, to be honest. It was hard to prepare for, okay? Anyway, why I say that, he was a young reporter from Boston, curly-haired guy, right? And I was a young head coach. We had 1A championships yet, you know, and here's this guy, you know, how nice they come to practice sometimes, film, kid take a few shots, talk to the kids a little bit. How nice. He loved doing that right away. So we kind of established a little friendship that way. And so a few years later, we won the state championship, and sure enough, he's there, the first one. And how to say this, I have to say was now, he was a very authentic person, you know. You watch the movie Anchorman, that comedy, and how phony those guys are, you know. Is the comedy, they really make a comedy out of how phony it, you know. No, he was very sincere and very authentic. So much so, we win the game. It was an exciting game. Came out last minute, we win the game, and I turn around, and you know, it's not a microphone. It's in his hand. He's like this. And he comes around, and he's jumping up and down, right? And my story to you, I often tell people, you know, I hugged Jim Donovan 20 minutes to a half hour before I hugged my wife. big football player, coach, and no, you know. I mean, that's sincerely, he would be that type of guy when he'd cover you. And then we got to know each other pretty well. My daughter was on that station. Oh, okay, am I okay with this? Let me give you a story. After the second one, we had some national attention, you know, and that night I get home, you know, get tired. Jim Donovan on the phone, and Jim goes, Chuck, hey, we want to do a really good interview, you know, like, hey, can we interview tomorrow? But look, you stay at home, we'll drive to your house and we'll do this interview. You don't have to move, just, we'll get there. I go, well, thank you for doing that. I don't want to drive all the way down, right? So he comes to the house, you know, and here's the kids, you know, they slept in a little bit. There were 4 of them at that point. I had 4 of them, yeah. And they're all there in their pajamas and everything. And they come in, they're setting up all the equipment, and there's Jim, and he was great with the kids, you know, hey kids, oh, wasn't that fun? You know, he's having a good time. So anyway, they set up, and they start doing the interview. Well, 3 of my kids kind of wandered off. Well, my oldest daughter, she's in her little robe, right? Picture that. She's over to the left here. And she stood there, and she was utterly fascinated with what was going on. Utterly, she didn't leave. She stood there the whole time. 17 years later, that daughter of mine was hired by WKYC Channel 3 to be, you know, an announcer on television. She did the morning show for, I don't know how many years, 12 years. She's still with them doing special things. She's doing podcasts and all that sort of stuff. But I give Jim Donovan credit for inspiring my daughter to become a TV announcer. So that's it. But over the years, and again, he asked me to do that speech for him, and okay, but I owe it to him. Yeah, you know, there's a guy, when you're listening on the radio, you knew authentically, sincerely, he was excited about doing it. That's the type of man he was. We'll miss him. Yes, sir.
Coach, glad to see you. Wanted to ask you about, if you would talk a little bit about your staff, your coaching staff. You couldn't do it by yourself.
Right.
I imagine you probably had a super duper excellent coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to say, I had a rough week last week. Jim Donovan, the offensive coordinator, maybe you saw, he was on the news a little bit. Offensive coordinator, a man by the name of Nick Restifo, he was with me the entire time. In fact, we were both assistants when we first came to Ignatius. And, you know, we established, I knew him in college, you know, and all that. And he was, last week, the previous weekend, he was helping the freshmen. You know, he kind of retired, but he was helping the freshmen a little bit. So he was at the game in the morning and down in Cincinnati, and got on the bus, but he passed away on the bus in his sleep, you know. So to answer your question, one of the great compliments I have is that a guy like Nick could have have gone on to be a head coach many places, but we always looked at, we were very good friends that had a chance to work together to coach football. Think about that. That's fun, right? We're best friends getting together and we coach football, and that's what we kind of had going, you know. And, the other guys, when we first started, a lot of them were teachers. You know, we're teachers. You know, the bell would ring at 3 o'clock. Put a whistle on, go on, let's go, let's get out there, and have some fun doing it. I thought I would. I read about being. I like history too, not just English. But if you ever read about Abraham Lincoln or you read about George Washington, and you understand what they felt about leadership, if you notice they had people on their cabinet or associate generals that personally maybe they didn't agree with, but they hired them. Because why? You know, you can't just have a yes man in that coaching room. You got to have somebody go, hey, I don't know, that they could do this to us. I don't think we can handle it. You know, you got to have somebody to speak up and go, I don't know, that doesn't look right. You don't think it'll work? All right, then what do we, you know, you can't just have people just doing that. And I appreciated over the years that we could do that and still be friends, right? You don't have to do it, but it created, you know, what if they do this, what if they do that? That's okay to ask those questions. Because if you don't say it and it happens in the game, you're like, well, now what do we do, right? You have that moment where you don't react to it. So, what a wonderful compliment, I don't know, I guess that something I treasured very much, that we stuck together, a lot of us, for a long, long time. You know, I always wanted this, I've always said, we did this together, you know. It was you know, good friends having a good time coaching football. And that made it happen. One more, Coach. One more. I don't want to get in trouble. 1 o'clock, right? Yes, sir.
1997, McKinley finally broke through to beat one of your teams. Can you tell us about the Rubber Bowl game?
All right. All right. All right, now who's the starting quarterback for McKinley? Then I know.
D.
Oh, Ben. Ben was the starting, yeah. Okay. All right. To talk about that game. All right. We had, no, it's a packed house. We played him twice that year.
Right.
We played him twice that year. All right, now it's kind of bad. We played him twice. Both times. Packed house. Absolutely packed house. You know, just wow, for a high school game like that. You know, I mean, coach from Akron was there. He goes, I wish we'd have crowds like that. You know, at college. And you know, we had Dave Ragone at quarterback. Dave went on to quarterback at Louisville, had a nice career. Played a little bit in the pros. He's now the quarterback coach for the Los Angeles Rams. Yes. And Ben is with the pros too, right? And the interesting thing about that game, right? There's guys that they're coaching in the pros, right? And then, you know, both those games are just right battles, right down to the wire, and so on like that. And I would just, those are the games that are so much fun. They're intense when you're doing it, because you know when you say, why did they call that? Why did they do that? You know, you only have about 12 to 14 seconds really to make a decision, because you got to get it out there. They've got to call it. They've got to get it out. You're going to break it. You know, and you really don't have that much time to make the decision for the play or the call or whatever, right? And those. When you get games like that, each one of those calls are extremely important. Those are just things. You learn so much from those games. You know? It makes you become a better coach. And I think if Tom McDaniels were up here, he would kind of tell you, and I'd say the same thing. If we were standing here together, go ahead, Tom, you go first, or something like that. He would say, you know, we learned a lot. from each other. Because, you know, you play a team that attacks you to the hilt, you learn a lot. So those are type of games that made you, you know, a better coach and a better team as you go along. And the crowd and the whole thing's an experience that a lot of those kids that were there, you know, some go on, you know, big time. But most of them, if they go on to play, they'll be in Division III, something like that. They'll never play in front of a crowd like that again in their lives. You know? So they had that experience. It was pretty special. That's when you say, years, I don't know.